Scotland are eyeing a statement win, but the Boks aren't back-to-back world champions for nothing. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Scotland will definitely be buoyed from that big win over Fiji last week, but world champion Boks, much tougher prospect for them on Sunday, and it's going to be a tough ask, honestly. It's a quality Scotland side. We'll have a look at it in a minute, but the Boks are just such a great team, and it's if Scotland can do it, I think it's a big step forward for them if they're able to knock over South Africa. Not saying that they can't do it, but we'll have a look at the two teams, and it looks like it's maybe going to be a close game, but it's about then whether Scotland have that mental ability to win the tight game if it is a tight game in the end. So we're going to go down through, look at each of the teams. First of all, just run through them, then come back and take a closer look, and then we'll talk about how I feel the game is probably going to go. So I'm going to start with the home side, Scotland. So fullback is Tom Jordan, right wing Blair Kinghorn, centres Hugh Jones and Sione Tuipulotu, and he's the captain. Left wing Duhan van der Merwe, halfbacks Finn Russell and Ben White. The front row then we got Pierre Schoeman, Ewan Ashman, Xander Fagerson. Then second row Grant Gilchrist and Scott Cummings. Back row Matt Fagerson, Rory Darge and Jack Dempsey. Then on the bench you got Dylan Richardson, Rory Sutherland and Elliot Miller-Mills. Second row cover is Max Williamson. Then you got Josh Bayliss there as well, and you have Jamie Ritchie. So 6-2 split for Scotland. Backs cover then Jamie Dobie and Stafford McDowell. Now on to the Boks team. So front row Oxen Che, Bongi Mbonambi and Thomas Dutoy. Second row Eben Etzebeth and Franco Mostert. Back row Marco van Staden, Eric Lowe and Quagga Smith. Halfbacks Jaden Hendrickse and Andre Pollard. Left wing Makazola Mapimpi. Centres Andre Esterhazen and Lucanio Am. Right wing Kanan Moody, and fullback is Willie LaRue. On the bench then they've got Malcolm Marks, Gerhard Steenkamp, Vincent Koch, Orji Snyman, Sia Khaleesi, Peter Steph-Toy and Jasper Visa. And then the one back in a 7-1 split is Grant Williams, but that's a hell of a back to bring on. Okay, so let's take a close look at the Scotland squad. So Tom Jordan there at fullback. We probably, before last week, probably expected that it was going to be Blair Kinghorn in there, but Darcy Graham picked up a concussion and he's out for this one. So Kinghorn instead is filling in on the right wing. So Jordan, a big ask for him. I think, one of the players who, big step up for him. We know kind of from past experience, not just with Scotland, with a lot of teams, that guy coming in like that, it can go one or two ways. It can be an absolute disaster, or the guy can just look like he's still a manner born, and maybe a new star is born as well. So, and Jordan has been doing pretty well, this season too. So, been going fairly well, and as long as he gets kind of a couple of nice ones at the start, maybe a clean catch or a bit of a break on, running it back, or just a decent kick to find touch or to get some territory. That's going to really help him set in the nerves. But obviously the Boks won't want him to be able to do that, so expect him to be tested out. Blair Kinghorn then, fantastic player. Covers so many positions. Normally we see him either 15 or 10 for Scotland in recent times. He loves to come into the line, play as a second playmaker, but he has the pace and he has the skills, to be a threat himself. And, big worry for defences because of that, because you don't know whether you're supposed to be watching him or the guys around him. Then got those centres who've been in great form, Hugh Jones and Sione Tuipulotu. So, Jones has been playing really well, but Tuipulotu's just been on another level this season. But I think Scotland are going to need him to reach those heights, and for Jones, to be up there alongside him as well, for them to have a chance to win this one. Then Duhan van der Merwe, the guy absolutely knows where the try line is, and you don't want to be letting that guy get up ahead of steam in space, or you're in big trouble. So expect some big defence from South Africa to try and keep him quiet. Then Finn Russell. Hastings went well against Fiji, but we always knew he was just keeping the shirt warm for Finn. So, Finn back now, and, we're going to see that mercurial talent from him, right? You kind of know what you're going to get from him, and it can go, again, as one of these, it can go one way or the other, really. But it's going to be exciting whatever way it is. Beside him then, Ben White at 9. So still feels like that 9 position for Scotland is up for grabs between a handful of players who could all be number 1 or completely out of squads. That's how close it is with them. So he's got the chance to shine in a big game here. Then front row, Schoeman has been playing well the last couple of seasons for Scotland and in the URC as well. Ewan Ashman, decent there. Again, you wonder in terms of the likes of Johnny Matthews, in terms of getting a chance. It feels like that maybe just his try-scoring exploits aren't enough to get him in there. Obviously, they don't rate his overall game at the minute, at least. But Ashman, pretty decent there. Sander Fagerson, he's come back in and he's been really good. I think, was he out injured at the start of the season? I just remember that he wasn't playing the first few rounds, but he came back in, kind of found his feet a bit, and he seems to be in decent form. Then that second row, Gilchrist and Cummings. I think Cummings for me has been the better of the two players over the last while. And, another guy I think has to have a big game. Then the back row, like a lot of test nations, like plenty of talent to choose from in that back row, but they've gone with Matt Ferguson, Rory Darge and Jack Dempsey. So, Ferguson, another guy who has hit a little bit of form. Darge, a lot of competition for that 7 jersey, but he's the guy, chosen there. Hamish Watson completely overlooked. And then Jack Dempsey has been brilliant. He's been a really good ball carrier for them. Onto the bench then, replacement front row, Dylan Richardson, Rory Sutherland and Elliot Miller-Mills. So they're going to have to go some to stand up to the bomb squad when they come on, because there's no dip in the quality of the front row when the Boks make their changes. So those guys really do have to kind of stand up. Then you got Max Williamson, Josh Bayless there as well. Two guys who gonna have to get out there and prove themselves, really. Jamie Ritchie, he's been there and done that, but you're expecting that experience from the bench from him to help the team kind of dig them out, maybe if they're in a little bit of trouble, or if they've got a bit of a lead as well, to try and kind of guide them home. Then you got Jamie Dobie, another player in really good form, and then Stafford McDowell with the 23 in his back, so he's going to be covering a lot of positions, given that it's a 6-2 split. But another guy in form as well, so it's good to see plenty of form players. Obviously Darcy Graham, I think, will be a big miss, given that he was in such great try scoring form. But you're not going to get every single one of your players available all the time. But still a very strong Scotland team there. Then talking about strong teams, let's look at the Boks team a bit more. So front row, Oxenshea, Bongi and Benambi and Thomas Dutoy. That really is a big scrummaging unit, but also decent around the park as well. Bongi and Benambi has been fantastic recently. And, one of himself, Oxenche, a couple of many Sharks in this team. And the fact that the Sharks, have been playing better recently in the URC certainly will help those guys now that they've gone into the box there. And then you got like another Shark there, Eben Etzebeth, in the second row as well, beside Franco Mostart. So really, strong and tough second row there for them. Then the back row, they've got so much back row talent. You could name easily, I think, 5 or 6 South African back rows, and you'd be looking at them and think, geez, that's a pretty impressive back row there. They've just got so much talent running around. But Marco van Staden for the Bulls has been really good, as has Elric Lowe as well. And then they got Quagga Smith beside him there. Quagga Smith is one of those ones where he can be like man of the match performance, and then he can have a bit of a stinker as well. He's not a consistent performer, but when he's on it, he really is on it. Then you got Hendrickse there at 9, and beside him Andre Pollard. Pollard is a guy, he's just got nerves of steel, and he's going to put them into in the right areas of the field to play as well, and he's going to get his kicks at goal as well. So puts a lot of pressure, I think, on Scotland and Russell to deliver and take their chances when they get them. Then the rest of the backs, you got Makazola Mapimpi, been in great form, try scoring form for the Sharks, and then Esterhazen and Am there. That centre combination, Am kind of has been in and out over the last kind of year or two, but he seems to be getting back to his best. And Esterhazen has just been a phenomenon recently. Then you got Kanan Moody. I think he's matured well, I think, with the Bulls, and that should carry in over to the box as well. When he come on the scene first, bags of talent, but then there were question marks about other parts of his game. He has improved, still a few things in terms of defense and stuff like that, but what wingers don't go through a phase of being questioned on the defense. But he's the kind of guy, he can make a break, and he's one that kind of sniffs out when somebody else makes a break and runs really good support lines too. And then the guy that I just absolutely love there, fullback Willie LaRue. I think he is fantastic fullback, and he gets overlooked as well. When people talk about kind of some of the best players in the world, Willie LaRue, he's sometimes people kind of look at him and think, oh, I'd rather have somebody who could beat 3 or 4 players and make a break running it back. But LaRue, he can make a break now and again. Not as much, anywhere near as much as a lot of other fullbacks, but the rest of his game, his passing game, his kicking game, his ability in the air, his tactical nous, his defense, and almost everything is just top drawer. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him putting in some really clever kicks. We've seen him recently with the Bulls, kicks over the top, and not just we've seen a lot of teams do those kind of against rush defense, kick the ball over the top and hope somebody runs onto it. But he's kind of doing this thing, kind of a hybrid of that chip over top, but a cross kick as well. So he's putting at an angle, and therefore, he's given less chance for the covering defense to get to the ball because of the angle he's putting on his kicks, and he's given his own player coming through, the kind of, instead of a 50-50, maybe a 60-40 that they'll be able to gather the ball and then make the break from there. And then obviously, cross kicks as well. We've seen him, very accurate kicking out to the wing and stuff like that. So, another player that Scotland are just going to have to try and cope with how good that guy is. Then on the bench, then you look at you got Malcolm Marks, Steve Camp, and Vincent Koch all coming on in that front row. And as I said, the quality is not going to dip when these guys come on. And Scotland really, their bench is going to have to step up. When you look at, like, you got Orgy Stamen there, been in really good form for Leinster recently, just offloads for fun, and his carrying as well, brilliant. And then you got Sia Khaleesi, a guy who I have massive respect for, not just as a player, but as a person as well, in terms of what he's done for the game, and how he kind of gets involved as well, gets involved with fans, with the women's game, etc. But at the end of the day, the guy is a fantastic player as well. Then another fantastic player, Peter Steph du Toit, to come on too. And you look at the quality that's coming off their bench, and you think, geez, like Scotland, if Scotland are to win the game, you're always thinking like they've got to have like a massive lead when these guys come on, because if it's close, if these guys perform to the level that they can, it feels like almost inevitability to South Africa will take out the win. But that's the thing with Test rugby, is that guys can be fantastic players, have won everything in the game, but if you play your game right and you keep them quiet, then you can still come out on top. But then you got Jasper Wiese there as well, another guy who's been in great form this year. And Grant Williams, like pace to burn, very astute player, always looking for things like the quick tap to catch the opposition out, and gotta have eyes like a hawk on that guy when he comes on. He is the only back on the bench, but he's a 9. He can cover your back 3 for you as well because of his pace. And given the people that are already on there, you can kind of shuffle people around as well. If you need cover in centre or 10 or wherever. So really great. If you're going to have one back on the bench, he's a good shout, honestly, to be on there. So those are the two teams. How do you think the game is going to go? So I think Scotland, just no doubt the talent that's in that team. It's, as a group, can they perform under really big occasions? And when I'm talking about against the likes of South Africa, the All Blacks. When it comes to Six Nations, can they knock over Ireland, who've been a bit of a bugbear for them as well? Those are the big occasions to talk about. We know they can do against France. We know they can do against England. But the teams that recently or historically they haven't done so well against, can this team now start performing? They do have something, maybe a bit more of a little G up to the mental side of things. The fact that Glasgow won that URC and they won it down in South Africa against the Bulls. That, I think, was a switch for those players, that group of players, in terms of the mental side of the game. But can they bring that into test level, and can they bring along with them the rest of the squad as well, in terms of just that mental fortitude to be able to take out a win? I think, given that, they're definitely going to, as I said, I think it's going to be a close game. But you just look at the quality of the Box team, and again, I know it's a really good Scotland team as well, but you look at the quality of that Box team and the bench as well on top of that, and you think, yeah, South Africa are going to win this. Maybe they're just going to edge it, but it feels like it's a win for them. So that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for a Box win, but hopefully, it's going to be an entertaining game. And, sometimes as well, like the South African teams in the URC as well, they get maligned, like, they play boring rugby and they kick the ball all the time, and etc. Scotland kick the ball a lot too. Scotland play exciting rugby, but coming back to the Box, they have a lot of exciting backs, and they do like some of this, whether it's like the URC teams or the Springboks themselves, for a team who are quote unquote boring, they score some fantastic tries, like individual tries and team tries as well. So for me, that boring label is kind of very lazy journalism, where people just look at the power that they have in the pack and think, yeah, they're all about the pack. But you look at the quality in that back line and the skills in there as well. So I think in this one we're going to see a big battle, and we're also going to see some fantastic, back play and backs and forwards linking together from both of these teams. So hopefully it's going to be an enjoyable afternoon. Let me know what you think, about how it's going to go down in the comments.